Hello, my name is Meriel Woodward. I'm Assistant Director at Caritas Westminster. Thank you for joining me as I talk about imagining futures. What an exciting time to be in the Catholic Church and in a Catholic school, where we all have the formation tools we need to be protagonists of change, where we're called upon to dream for futures full of hope. Now, we all can agree that the world is a bit messed up at the moment. The COVID pandemic has highlighted the health, social and economic inequalities. The cost of living crisis has put a spotlight on poverty. War, climate change and global injustice has created a refugee crisis, where people are discriminated because of their differences and where they were born. Our politics are becoming more and more polarised. Politicians and journalists seem even more distant from the reality that you see in your schools. At Caritas Westminster, in working with you, we hear that you respond to cries for help every day. From the seagulls, that's what one school calls the children who hang around at the end of lunch break to pick up the other children's leftovers. The school staff at another school who have to rely on the food bank to keep themselves fed. And the mum who had a good full-time job, but when her husband died suddenly, she stopped coming to the school pantry quite as often in order to save petrol costs. And the child in your class who hasn't had enough sleep, hasn't eaten breakfast or washed their uniform. You notice these things and you respond to these things. We at Caritas Westminster, and on behalf of the Catholic Church, we thank you for being at the front line and for every effort you make to support the children and their families who are being forgotten or labelled by society. We need change now. And there's an amazing, special Catholic school-shaped key just for that. I've been attending a few lectures outside of the church, outside of the faith sector, in the academic and business world, at Imperial College, at the Royal Society of Arts think tank. They're all talking about the interconnectivity of everything. They're calling for a big change, a giant leap for people and for planet. Addressing poverty, inequality, empowerment of women, changes to the food and energy systems. These are all connections that Pope Francis made 8 years ago in his letter, Laudato Si, Care for Our Common Home, and that previous popes have made in their letters, interpreting the scriptures to meet the signs of the times. But back to the lectures, and this is the big one. The way they are calling for change is through subsidiarity and solidarity, through grassroots participation, action and activism, leading to enlightened top-down response. They're calling for this on a global scale. I keep going to these lectures and putting my hand up and saying, do you know that Pope Francis and the Catholic Church is doing this right now through the synodal process, a process that many of you took part in last year? Pope Francis wants us to continue this listening, this synodal listening, at every level of the church. He wants the whole church to be a listening church so we can meet the urgent and growing needs of the church and the wider world. So how do we change? We have an amazing starting point. Every school has so many passionate teachers and imaginative and ambitious pupils, young minds. There's great diversity and opportunities for creative, collective, imaginative thinking. There's hope, there's faith, and there's dreams. We have a very clear common vision. Every day in our prayers, we say, thy kingdom come, Thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. That's our vision. We have a value lens of Catholic social teaching through which we can plan our progress. There's dignity of the human person, where everybody is created in the likeness and image of God. We have community and participation. We have preferential option for the poor, which is where we look at equity and what we need to do to support those who've been most disadvantaged. We have solidarity and peace. We have dignity of work, and we have care for our common home. We also have an amazing role model in Jesus. When I was little, I used to have a wristband with WWJD on it. What would Jesus do? And whenever I had a problem to contend with, like with classmates or my family life, I'd have a look at that and think, what would Jesus do? And I've been using it throughout the years. So we have an amazing starting point. We have a strong, audacious vision. We have a value lens which to look through, and we have a role model in Jesus Christ. But Pope Francis has then given us a process for working through all of that to get us towards the vision. The process is a synodal process, which he took from practices that were already there in the early church. So it's practices of listening, of inviting the Holy Spirit in to help us to discern the different voices that are heard in the listening process. Opportunities for dialogue, for accompaniment. It is so important, particularly with young people, that we accompany them along their journey, even though some might be going on a different path. And opportunities for encounter, where there are different cultures, different perspectives and different experiences, and we can all hear and listen to those. So therefore, we've got opportunity for change through subsidiarity, bottom-up inspiration, through the listening, discernment, dialogue, accompaniment and encounter. And then that's shared in order to bring enlightened and informed top-down response. So that in its entirety is a comprehensive set of formation and tools for change. Of course, there are always teething problems when putting things into practice, and it does take practice. But it's a real opportunity for us to dream big and to make change. It's up to us to put the formation and tools to good use, to put our love into action. Pope Francis asks us to look forward in hope, to listen to each other's experiences, invite the Holy Spirit in, and use this to make change. You can do this, not only in your schools, but with your local churches and in your wider community. It's really important that you share your stories, share your progress, wider through your networks and through the church's networks of influence, through the education advisors, through Caritas. Together we can make a difference. Please take some time to think about how you can continue to listen in your schools, to imagine futures with hope, and to put love into action. Now, we know you're busy, but Caritas Westminster is here to support you through our programmes. 30 schools are currently involved in our Caritas Ambassador programme. They're providing formation to pupils through 11 sessions in Catholic social teaching, followed by putting love into action. We also support schools in more practical ways to set up food pantries, community cooking and dining, and refugee welcome. Please come and talk to us. Speak to Sister Silvana Dalla Negra and our wider Caritas Westminster team. We look forward to talking to you more over the coming weeks and months. Thank you.